Ananti Kori Vaishnava Brinda ki jai, Namachar Sila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem Zagaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Radhika Gadadhar Siva Sri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shami Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Sri Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi ki jai, Srimati Bhakti Devi ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premananda Haribo. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam, text number 17. What is it? 3:11:17. Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Yoga Radena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Yoga Radena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Yoga Radena Chakshusha Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Yoga Radena Chakshusha. Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Kim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvam Vichakshate Dhira Vaishnavis Bhagavan Veda Kalasya Gatim Bhagavato Nanu Vishvan vichakshate dhira yogaradena chakshusha Bhagavan Synonyms. Bhagavan, O spiritually powerful one. Veda, you know. Kalasya, of the eternal time. Gatim, movements. Bhagavataha, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanu, as a matter of course. Vishvam, the whole universe. Vichakshate, see. Dhiraha, those who are self-realized. Yogaradena, by the dint of mystic vision. Chakshusha, by the eyes. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movements of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. Purport. Those who have reached the highest perfectional stage of mystic power and can see everything in the past, present, and future are called Kalagya's. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord can see everything clearly that is in the revealed scriptures. The devotees of Lord Sri Krishna can very easily understand the science of Krishna, as well as the situation of the material and spiritual world, creations without difficulty. Devotees do not have to endeavor for any yoga siddhi or perfection in mystic powers. They are competent to understand everything by the grace of the Lord, who is sitting in everyone's heart. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Shakshu Umritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Vanchakalpa Drupyasya Kripasthana Vevata Paritana Pabanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. A very small purport, but very powerful purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And what's really telling is that this process, or this personages of Tri Kalagyas, or persons who can see the past, present, and future. And Srila Prabhupada, in this connection, he calls these individuals, I've read somewhere where Prabhupada said that they're Siddha Sattama. Siddha Sattama means a person who is self-realized, a pure devotee of the Lord. It also has a meaning of the best of the perfect. So this is Siddha Sattama. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described Manusha Nam Sahasre Sukashya Yatati Siddhaye, that out of millions of people, millions and trillions and billions of people, hardly one strives for this Siddha Sattama position, this position of a pure devotee of the Lord. And the definition of such an individual, Siddha Sattama, is that that particular person understands the position as the soul, being the part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because they know that, they engage in full loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. This is a Siddha Sattama. And that individual is qualified to see past, present, and future. So here, we're reading about this past, present, and future. So, 5,000 years ago, the great saints and sadhus, they came together at Naimisharanya forest. And there they decided to actually perform a 1,000-year yajna in order to decrease the effects of Kali Yuga. So they felt they needed to come together and do this yajna, sacrifice, in order to decrease the effects of this age of Kali Yuga. So they came together, and in the process of coming together, they analyzed what the future is in this age of Kali Yuga, and they came up with a description of the individuals in this age. Manda sumanda mataya madhabhagya upaditaha. They said that in this age of Kali Yuga, everyone's going to be short-lived. That's for certain, short-lived. They're going to be lazy, unlucky, misguided, and above all, always disturbed. And that was their conclusion of those of us that live in this age of Kali Yuga. And yes, they knew what they were talking about. And they gave us this information thousands of years ago. And today we can actually verify that that's true. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Sukadeva Goswami thousands of years ago, also verifies this particular point. And the Srimad Bhagavatam it's Shastra. And this Shastra is Tri Kalagya, because it's written and it's spoken by a Siddha Sattama. So we in Kali Yuga, we don't have to aspire to become a, whatever, yoga siddhi. We don't need to do that. All we really need to do is get absorbed in hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and the activities of great souls in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, we as devotees, we accept the Shastra, the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, as Tri Kalagya. And the Shastrakara means the compiler. The compiler of this Shastra has to be a Siddha Sattama, a pure devotee. And we know Sukadeva Goswami was a Shastrakara, a pure devotee of the Lord, 100%. And so was King Pariksit. And many of the sages in Naimisharanya also Siddha Sattamas, because they could pronounce what's happening, what's going to happen. So the Vedas are called Apaurushaya. Apaurushaya means that you can't write these wonderful stories, pastimes, unless one is a self-realized soul. And these are not ordinary activities, so they have to be a liberated individual. And this is the Bhagavatam. So, therefore, the Vedas, they give us direction. They give us a solid direction, a roadmap, how to understand Krishna and, the processes of self-realization and, ultimately the goal. Goal is Krishna. So to attain a perfection, we study the Shastra, and the Shastra gives us different processes. If we try to just learn the transcendental subject matters or understand the Vedic literatures, Svavasa Chaham Ridi Sanivistomata Smitya Jnanam Apohanam Cha Vedaisa Savar Aham Eva Vid Vedantakrit Veda Vedeva Chaham. So Krishna's in the heart, He gives us knowledge, forgetfulness, remembrance. And Krishna says, by the Vedas I'm to be known. I'm the compiler of the Vedanta. I'm the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna has a direct connection with the Vedas. And if we study the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, we can understand Krishna. And we can become pure devotees of the Lord. So understanding the Vedas means that we can develop a relationship with Krishna. Because if you understand the Vedas, from that you'll understand how to have a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then after we have this understanding of relationship, another thing is that by performance of different processes that the Vedas give us, we can understand the Supreme Lord. There's a process. And ultimately, from that process is to love Krishna. So that process is based right here within the Krishna consciousness movement, right within this society here. There's the process of how to step forward, come closer to Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is a process. Worshipping the deity is a process. Cooking for the deity is a process. Hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam is a process. Chanting the holy name. These things are processes in order for us to come closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Excuse me. And we see that in these different various processes, there's important, the senses of Sarvapadi Vinyam Bhutapta Paravena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesh Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate, that these blunt senses, as they are, we cannot understand Krishna by these blunt senses. They have to be purified. So the processes of Krishna consciousness is purification of the senses. And that's very important. And of all the senses, the hearing, the ear, is very important, this hearing. It's stated that when you're awake, you can be protected by your arms, your legs, your mind, or whatever. You can do different things to get out of a dangerous situation. But when one is fast asleep, there's only one thing that can save us when there's danger, and that is the ear, the hearing. This is the only thing that can save us in that time of problematic situation. So of all the senses, the ear is very, very important, the hearing process. And we've heard so many times about this hearing process. Srimatan Svagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hidyantasto Hi Abhadani Vidunoti Sarit Satam. Yes, the hearing process is essential. And if we hear properly, we act properly. So in the process of Krishna consciousness, we see how someone acts according to how much and what they hear. And that's so much there in the world also, what you hear. Like there's so many things going on now. They call them conspiracy theories. People are hearing so many stupid things. And they do so many stupid things after they hear it. So it's obvious what the activities of a devotee are of one who actually hears properly. And if one is not hearing properly, they can do crazy things because they haven't heard. So this hearing process is absolutely important. Because in the hearing process, one actually can develop a connection with Krishna, and one can actually develop the highest stage of understanding and even love of God just by the process of hearing about Krishna. And one can get rid of so many pangs of material existence. There's so many pangs. Health, pang. But one, Prabhupada speaks about a couple of them. Lamentation. This is a pang it's deep-rooted within the heart of the living entity. This lamentation, oh, I wish, only if I would have. I wish, this lamentation is so deep that people, they kill themselves because of lamentation. That's how deep it can go. So this lamentation is a pang of the material world, and it goes deep within the heart of the living entity. And it sits there really deeply engrossed in lamenting about their existence. Who they are, what they should have done, who they should have married, who they could have been, what, this, that. This lamentation is one of the pangs. And that lamentation is so powerful that it can even drag one away from the association of Krishna consciousness because of this lamentation. And we all are guilty of lamentation, each and every one of us. But we should understand that it's a pang, it's a process which takes us away from the process of Krishna consciousness. Another thing would be like the mirage of illusory things. Like a couple of days back, we heard somebody said something about an animal in the desert, and it sees a mirage, and when it sees that mirage, thinking that it's water, and so the animal goes after that mirage, and goes until finally it just dies because it's a mirage. It's not real. So this material world, one of the pangs of the material world is this illusory mirage of this material world for material things, to acquire something, power, distinction, adoration, wealth. Yes, and we see that it's played out in the world like anything. Even like right today, before our eyes, we're seeing a very, demoniac person just killing, maiming, killing kids, children, destroying, annihilating a whole country, trying to wipe out a whole culture. And this is this illusion. It's so powerful, so great, that people will go to the extreme. They'll kill, and they'll do everything they possibly can in order to fulfill that illusory thing that they want, that power or that money. People will do things that are just so horrific and sinful simply for some money or for some so-called sense gratification, and at the cost of living entities and the destruction of the world, even, for that matter. So that's another pang of this material world. And then Prabhupada talks about the one that all of us can relate to, and that is definitely fear. Yes, fear. We live in fear. All of us do, due to our attachment to our material body and minds. And we're constantly in fear. You can see in the country of America, you just take a look around. They spend multi-billions and trillions of dollars for protection, making atomic bombs, weapons. For protection. Why? Because of fear. This fear factor is very powerful, extremely destructive, and it creates so many problems and difficulties and arguments and wars and battles, and so many things occur because of this fear factor. So these are the pangs of material world. You can see I'm going through some pangs, otherwise why would I be saying all these things? You get realizations when you go through pangs. You realize things, you see things in a different perspective. So yes, these are the pangs, and eventually, like Baba Rogue, repeated birth and death. That happens when all these pangs, when we become involved in these pangs, it simply means rebirth again in this material world. So, the science of Krishna becomes manifest to a liberated soul. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. Vijnanam, scientific. Krishna consciousness is very, very scientific. And Prabhupada describes that, what is that science? That science is understanding that we're actually a spirit soul, that we're parts and parcels of Krishna. And that is scientific. People do not understand that they're a soul. They only understand that they're the body. They only think and understand this principle. They don't want to think any greater than that. They just want to leave that. So only a mukta sangha, a liberated soul, is the only one that really thinks beyond that particular bodily platform of life. And so it takes a mukta sangha to actually understand vijnanam, the science. So Krishna consciousness offers that to every living entity, this scientific knowledge of understanding that we're qualitatively one, but quantitatively different from Krishna. Qualitatively, we're a spirit soul, we're part and parcel. But quantitatively, we're teeny specks and practically invisible. And this is a siddha sattama can understand this. A liberated soul. And when one becomes liberated, one can get rid of all these pangs of material existence, of fear and these wanting and so many mental situations. So there's that verse, Tesam evanukam partam aham agyana jamtama nasam yapyam bhavasto jnana dipena bhaspataha. Krishna says that to show mercy, I dwelling in the hearts of the living entity, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness of ignorance. Yes, this is Krishna. He's living within us as a super soul, Paramatma. And if we connect with the super soul by the processes that we're talking about, the process of Krishna consciousness, we can actually develop real intelligence and understanding with the shining lamp of knowledge, which is darkness born of ignorance. This is what Krishna will do for us. And it's not very difficult. One simply needs to follow the process. That's all. We just need to follow that process. And we have to believe in a guru, sadhu, and shastra. We just accept what the Bhagavatam says. We accept it. We don't argue. We accept it. Because that's what it really means. That's called surrender. We surrender to the process of understanding. And one can become Trikalagya just by that activity of surrendering to the Vedas, to Krishna, and the activities of Krishna consciousness. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarva pravartate iti matva bhajantaman buddha bhava samanvita. Krishna says, I'm the source of all spiritual material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. This is what Krishna, this is what he's saying if we do that. And these are words that are coming from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's giving us this direction. And by this activity of hearing Krishna's words and following his instruction, we can become freed from the pangs of material existence. And this is something that's very beautiful, because the next verse says, Maschita matkata prana bodhayantam parasparam katayantasmam nicham tushanti charamanti cha. It says that those, excuse me, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me, and they derive great satisfaction and pleasure in enlightening one another about me. That's what our conversations should be based on in Krishna consciousness, on enlightening each other, Because if we do that, then we'll become happy. That's the secret of success for happiness. If we enlighten each other about the science of Krishna consciousness. And if we do that, then Krishna will be happy also, because he likes it when you speak about him. And we'll be happy because we'll be hearing more about Krishna's pastimes. So this is very scientific. It's not just words. This is a very scientific process of how to get out of the pangs of material existence and how to become fully absorbed in the process of Krishna consciousness. Tesam satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam yupayanti te. It's another verse where Krishna is talking about the importance that the devotee, he has to become fully absorbed and devoted to Krishna, but he wants it out of love. This is the important ingredient, love. And we have to develop this love in Krishna consciousness for Krishna. And that love can be developed by the process of the processes of Krishna consciousness. So these enlightenments, they actually help a devotee distinguish between matter and spirit. Because the knot of matter and spirit, or this ahankar, is very, very deep. This ahankar is very, very powerful. But just by engaging in the processes of Krishna consciousness, it loosens the ahankar. You just see, the more you chant through the years, the more you understand more and more, I'm not this body. It loosens that ahankar, that bodily platform of life. And then things kind of clear up. Then there's a clarity, and doubt can become decreased. One becomes less doubtful about the process of Krishna consciousness. And then if that happens to the devotee, then they'll see their master. The master, Krishna. Krishna is my master. And if we see that Krishna is my master, then we'll be happy to perform transcendental loving service to Krishna. So it's a whole scientific process. And we can get whatever we want to know about Krishna by the Vedas. And this is Chi Kalagya. This tells us everything that we need to know in the science of Krishna consciousness. Okay. Yes. I think everything I said. One of those particular days. Okay. Jai. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.